Hi, everybody.
Are we recording?
Yes.
And are we recording? Yes, I think we are.
Thank you.
Good morning. I can't see anybody. I can just see this great shoe in front of me, which is a thrill to me because I love shoes. So my comment the other day was I wrote this talk because A, I have far too many shoes, but also I have a rule. I have about a 7.5 foot, so it's kind of average, and I don't spend more than $20 on shoes. That's my rule across the internet or stores or anything else. So, but I wanted to write it in kind of a spiritual way. So just to get started, let's walk in the spirit if the shoe fits. So metaphorically, we'll talk about our shoe fitting. I'm just going to get these slides to move here a second. And they're not, but you know, we'll figure this out. All right, is anything moving up there on the screen?
No.
Sometimes you just don't know, right?
Sometimes you have to double click on that first one.
Yeah. There we go. So if the shoe fits. So what I'm noticing, just so you know, I made this on my computer and I'm using Cheryl's computer. So I'm hoping all the graphics turn out okay because the fonts change and things like that, but we're not going to worry about that. But these are a couple of my birthday cards. I had a birthday a couple weeks ago, and my friends know I love shoes. So my daughter on the far right-hand side gave me this beautiful pair. It says limited edition on it, which I thought was adorable. And my friend Debbie gave me one with some sandals on it. And my friends from the US, if you look really close at the one on the left-hand side, it says friends and shoes, and they tucked in and sandals. Because they know I mostly live in sandals, have a lot in common. A very sweet birthday card. And I wore a new shoe this past month. I was pleased and just so honored to officiate a wedding this past August the 5th. So that was really a fun thing to do. Reverend Barbara helped me immensely in getting a certification to be able to do this. And my friends near Kingston were able to get married. I actually know the aunt of the person. So it was her nephew getting married and his new bride. So that was my new shoe to wear this past month. And it kind of called me. So I think this is something I'm going to get officiated in and do for a little while. So just for the fun of it, to move on to other careers. Bob Proctor always says multiple sources of income or multiple sources of careers. And I kind of like that idea. All right, if the shoe fits. Remember today we're talking about the metaphorical part. It's meaning to take us on a journey. This is not meant that if anybody has any disabilities or non-accessibility or their feet don't work very well anymore, or your feet hurt when you walk. That's not what we're talking about in the way of walking today. This is totally a metaphorical. This is the metaphysical meaning of walk, is to acknowledge the power of the spirit within our mind and body as a dominating force. So we know in unity, we talk about the universe and the divine and God and whatever word you want to use, but it's never about something out there. It's always about in here, right? It's always what we have within us. And it is the dominating force, particularly for listening. If we're listening and walking through that still small voice, we hear a lot more. A lot of people just trudge around, right? And they go on their journey and say, oh, nothing ever happens to me, but something's happening all the time. We just have to listen into it. And the metaphysical meaning of shoe is the words which are clothed or contained in understanding and truth, which means we have no limiting thoughts. When people say things like, I can never, I would never is a possibility. Maybe I'd never go bungee cord jumping. I don't know. But if I wanted to and it called me, I might be very scared to do that. But if I wanted to, I could do it. And I would bet if things happen to people where they're put into a crisis, there's a lot of things we would do. You know, the mothers that lift up the 10-ton car that's on top of their 2-year-old kind of thing. You hear about these amazing things happening. That's the walking through the fact that there are no limiting thoughts. When we need to do, we do. When we need to walk through it, we do. And as walking through it means that we get through whatever the still small voice is telling us, sometimes it makes us scared. So we know that walk can sometimes be a little on the scary side too. So your spiritual journey begins when you decide to rediscover who you really are, where you really are, and what's really happening in this place we call our reality. So let's look at shoes for a minute. I found a couple good graphics on the internet. There's equality versus equity. And it basically is equality says everybody gets a shoe. Cool. So everybody gets a walk. But what if it doesn't fit you? So if you take the 3-year-old in their mom's closet going into the high heels, they might like playing with them, but it's not great to go on the journey on, right? Equity means that you get a shoe that fits you. So you're going on your walk. It's your walk. It's your shoe. You kind of know where you're headed. You don't know what you're going to go through, but you're going to know at least where you're headed for. And this far graphic on the right-hand side, equity is everyone getting a pair of shoes. Sorry, equality is everybody getting a pair of shoes. Equity is everybody getting a pair of shoes that fits. And diversity is everybody getting a different shoe. So what's the shoe of your choice? Maybe it's a shoe that's being given to you, don't actually want, but you put it on and it fits. Cool. Next journey begins, right? Journey's always in the mind, really not on the feet. We might have to put feet to it, but it's always in the mind. Acceptance is understanding we all wear different shoes. So my shoe isn't like your shoe. That's cool. Does your shoe fit you? Great. Does my shoe fit me? Cool. And when your shoe doesn't fit you, you might choose different shoes. So just to go back to that wedding for a moment, as I mentioned, I know the auntie. So it was her calling me one day, says, would you think about doing a wedding for Tony and Elizabeth? Tony was Emma. Emma was Emma till she was 21 and deciding through university that she was actually more of a Tony. Her family was very supportive. Emma became Tony in a very organic and supportive way. But they knew it might be harder to get a wedding together if somebody knew all of their background. People have judgment, not always easy, hard place to be in sometimes. And Marie knew that I'm very comfortable with everybody being exactly who they should be. And she knew I come from the unity background of a spiritual being. So doing that wedding for Tony and Elizabeth was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. And I'll tell you, it was just a great day all the way around. But acceptance is understanding we all wear different shoes. We don't get to pick somebody else's shoes. That's kind of the point. And belonging, fully belonging is wearing the shoes you want without fear of judgment. I didn't make this graphic. It's Crocs. They're pretty comfortable. I don't own any. I'm just saying. Although I do see now they have little bits and pieces you can put into Crocs, and they've got little parts. So if there were sparkly ones, I might do that. But the idea is we don't get to judge anybody else's footwear. We don't get to judge their journey and their path. Everybody's going to have different journeys, and whatever we have is the right thing for the person, not for anybody else to judge that. So how do we pick our right shoes for our feet? Or how do we decide the journey we're going to be on? Well, we often get directed, and sometimes we take different steps with different shoes on. So let's see where this goes. This is my friend Blake. Blake is 4. Blake is the daughter of a young man I babysit since the day he was born. So I have known Sam for 49 years. And this is his child, so really fun. And she thought it would be hysterical to put her dolly shoes on. And she laughed and laughed and laughed. We took a picture and thought that was really, really funny. So maybe we choose baby shoes. Baby shoes are when we're new to unity, perhaps on that journey. Everything seems a little bit different. It's all a little bit new and exciting. Sometimes it's a little bit weird. I'm just going to try and just move my little Zoom thing. Sorry. I got people in front of my talk words here, so I'm just gonna, I can't, anyway, it doesn't matter. We're learning that there's a positive path to spiritual living. And I think probably the biggest thing I hear from unity is that, if that can just move down, that'd be great, is that, and I grew up in an atheist household, so I didn't have religion in my life. I looked for it. I looked for some guidance, and I went to Sunday school with my friends and did all kinds of things. So I had lots of variety with that. But to find out that you could actually be in a place where it was positive living, it meant something to use the right words. It meant something to not just say things like, oh, I'm such a loser, or that'll never happen to me, or you're so lucky. And this happens a lot with general society, but we want to make sure that we're thinking in those baby shoes, those first baby steps. Sounds like we're finding the words. We're looking for things that people are saying to us and then saying, do I have to believe that? Wait a minute. And I notice a lot of people from unity sometimes come from religious backgrounds that have a lot of dogma to them. And in the dogma, they get stuck with like, but can I say that or not say that? Uh-oh. This is where the baby steps come in. Baby shoes are there. These shoes that can actually be outgrown fairly quickly for some. And sometimes it's a long baby step journey, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. It's their journey to wear with little tiny shoes on your toes. And that's all good. As you start to walk on the way appears, says Rumi, and it always does. They talk about a light in a room. All you need to do is be able to see the next step. That is the only most important thing. What about unique shoes? Now, this is a picture of specific shoes. Anybody know what these shoes are? These are Louboutin shoes. Louboutin shoes are worth $1 million, and I don't have any. I'm just saying. We could paint the bottom, or we could, I don't know, buy the one-offs from wherever, but I don't do that. These are Louboutin. And I just wanted to say that unique shoes they're unique to us, whoever we want to be. And Louboutin, actually, that color of red is actually a trademarked color. Just like the Tiffany blue, if you know the Tiffany blue box of jewelry, that is Louboutin red. And that combination cannot be used by anybody without the trademark being there. So we take on a spiritual journey of self-evaluation. There are unique shoes. It's our journey to take. Understand the necessity of truth and clarity and the words that matter. So things won't stop us on our journey because we say, maybe this is just a lesson along the way. Maybe this is too high a heel for me to wear and I have to just drop that down a little bit. And that's a possibility. You can wear the Louboutin. My daughter always says, wear great shoes. And she says, as long as you can walk in, walk across the room and sit down, you're good. Then you put your comfy ones on, like I have on today. So you're knowing that thoughts become things. That, you know, Mike, what's his last name? Dooley says, Tut says, right? Thoughts become things, always choose the good ones. If we're in that space of our shoes hurting, our unique shoes hurting, maybe it's time to reevaluate what we're saying to ourselves. In bigger dreams, sometimes it looks like you can't ever get to the end, but it's interesting how you do get to the end of something, and then there's sometimes a new path to take, and that's cool. But you get to something not really knowing, you look back and go, wow, how did I get here? This is really cool. But sometimes you just have to look back on it rather than just seeing the future. Future next steps are ready to take, maybe when you change a shoe, and that's cool. You don't necessarily need to know the information yet, and you don't necessarily want to share it yet. There are things about dreams that by putting them out there, a lot of times that path will return to us with other people saying how you can't do it. Can't be done, shouldn't be done, you don't have the money, you're too old, you're too young, blah, 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 blah. I could give you 1,000 examples of why that doesn't work, and we all know them. From stuff that's in celebrity world or tech world, or just people we know saying, wow, good job, you overcame that. I didn't know that could happen, but you did, which is awesome. I also call this spiritual lingerie, meaning that I'm in the spectacle business, right? That's been my optical business my whole life. If you go look at glasses sometimes, and you can do this in an optical store, and you'll see that they have design on the inside and plain color on the front or the sides. And one of my sales reps said to me one time, oh, we call that optical lingerie. Like, you know it's there, but nobody else has to. So I think of the Louboutin as being sort of journey lingerie. You know it's there, but nobody else has to. Up to you whether you want to do that. You can share all you like, pull up your heel, show the Louboutin red, that's cool, but you don't have to. And it's important to know that you never need to have permission to go on your journey. Everybody's journey is different, and you can do as you wish. So walk the spiritual path and say little, perhaps. Love much, give all, judge no person. Aspire to all that is pure and good, and just keep going. And you may have to change that high heel to keep going, just saying. But as long as you get in the room and show everybody what you got, that's cool. And what about our comfy shoes? Do we put on a nice comfy slipper, throw in a little croc to go for a bit of a walk, something that makes us feel comfortable and protected? And we talk about these things a lot too. You know, when you buy a new shoe, it can be difficult to wear, right? It takes a little time to get broken in, you might get a little blister or something. Comfy shoes don't do that. And I think a lot of us have that spare pair of slippers at the door that we just automatically walk into, or the shoe we always put on to be out and about. And that's metaphorical again for the journey we're on. At the comfy shoe stage, we usually know our unity principles. We know what they're about. We understand that everything is within. We understand that we must act upon it. We understand that the positive value of thinking always has an outcome. It does not mean everything's perfect, and never does. That's one of the issues of that positive thinking. That's where I can get kind of Pollyanna. Just think it, it'll happen. No, only in the time of the universe. That's the way it is. Some things are lessons we don't really know why we're having, or maybe why somebody in our life is having them, and we don't know why that comes back to us. We walk the talk and we walk it comfortably. We know what we want to say, how we want to say. We're also willing to walk away and go, you know, cool, I'm good with that. I'll agree to disagree. That's fine. And you can see that a lot in politics and friendships and families sometimes. We have to walk away and just know, I'm okay with what I think. I'm okay with my journey that I'm on. And knowing that we manifest is always attainable, but as I mentioned, there's no time factor. The time factor is not up to us. That's up to the universe giving back where and when and how it's supposed to be. A little alert though, comfy shoes can get a little too comfy. And we forget we're farther in the spiritual journey than others and then assume that everybody knows this. The other thing we can assume is it just, it doesn't have to be done anymore because I've been on my journey. The journey never ends. The journey is lifelong. As long as we're in this little human skin suit, we get to have the journey. One might attain something and reach a goal, but they're not going to end their journey. Being on a spiritual path does not prevent you from facing times of darkness. It teaches you to use the darkness as a tool to grow. That doesn't always mean it's easy. There is heartbreak and trauma and tragedy and terrible things that happen. And we all know that, whether it's from ourselves, within our friendship or family group, whether it's from our world, they are happening. We want to be able to use, as actually, Wendy, you pick these wonderful songs, as the song just said, do my bit of the best I can do. I can't do everything, I can do my part. And I think doing my part is exactly what this means. Grow through the darkness. Understand there might be a different lesson I'm not seeing, and understand that everybody's on their own path. Somebody else's darkness may be near where they need to go. We can't always solve that problem. And what about if we decide to have no shoes? This is called earthing. Earthing is when you walk barefoot on the earth and the electrons transfer into your feet, your skin. You can sit on the earth, you can lay on the earth, you can just take your shoes off, touch the earth, and it's a really powerful antioxidant. We can take our shoes off, we can have time of renewal and revitalization, times that we just chill and sit, sometimes in silence, sometimes in meditation, where you have something guided on and in your little earbuds or something, but meditation can also just be silent. Sometimes in prayer, we're at the place where we're going to do an affirmative prayer or a denial of something overcoming us, so we don't need to do that, and enjoying just quiet nature, staying quiet, and then allowing that still small voice to be with us when we need to hear it. Quick story about when I was thinking of retiring early from university. It's a pretty rough space to be in right now. It was a nice space. Believe me, I love my job, but a lot of negative people just at the time. And I was thinking, I was telling people to find your joy, and I was not finding my joy. I was driving home crying. It wasn't good. Love students, love teaching, but the administration was extremely oppressive at the time. And I kept on hearing the word quit. It's like, what? I'm a single person. I need my salary, blah, 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 blah. But inevitably, I'll tell you this at a different time, but I quit. I took an early retirement. It all fell into place. I'm still doing lots of work stuff that I love. It was meant to be at the time, but I had to hear the word quit more than a few times because that was like a big decision to make. But there's the path I was on, and that's what I needed to hear. So the still small voice is not always the voice that's doing the words you want to hear. Sometimes you just have to pay attention. So I found this little graphic about shoes. I always look on the internet and see what's there. So look for sustainable shoes and buy quality shoes, and always repair your shoes, and consider a shoe driver a fundraiser. Avoid fast fashion because they'll just go out of fashion quickly, right? So I changed them into some unity stuff. So sustainable, create dreams you actually want. Don't live somebody else's dream. You know, walk away from situations where you're saying, oh, my dad was a dentist and my grandfather was a dentist, so I have to become a dentist. Not true. I began stories about that where people changed their careers at 50 years old because they said, I never wanted to do that anyway. I just was told I had to, right? So steps that you want to get to. Dream big. Buy quality. Use the positive words and affirmations that we have available. If you don't know them, if you are in a darker place, internet, books, anything you're going to find, open it up and find it, and just keep on reading it until you can find the words yourself. Repair the shoes. Take the steps that scare you. Most people walk part way through a journey. They get scared, and it's way easier to turn around and know that path. It's a comfortable path. You've been on that path before. I could put on my slippers and do that path, right? But take the steps that scare you. Some of the scariest things, whatever that might be, doesn't have to be physical scare. It can be brain scare. It can be emotional scare. It can be 1,000 things. But those steps are the ones that actually take us the farthest leap along our journey. Consider a shoe drive or a fundraiser. Encourage and help others on their path as they need help, not as you say you want to impress help upon them. But knowing the universe is always conspiring with you is a thought that we say so easily in unity, but it is an odd thought for a lot of people. The universe conspiring with me, my thought has an energy vibration, I can raise my vibration, what? It's a bunch of voodoo, right? It's not voodoo. We all have 100 stories we could tell of things that have turned out differently by changing our pattern of thought, our behavior, our words, whatever that might be. And avoid fast fashion. Let's say don't listen to others in judgment. And maybe don't judge others too. We're in good shape for being able to do that because we usually take our own journey and say, I don't have to organize everybody else. I can just organize me. But follow that little inner voice to avoid having to replace that dream all the time or that journey all the time. Might recognize the picture from Cinderella. Gotta have a Disney picture in there. What if the shoe doesn't fit? I put it on and darn it, I can't get my bigger feet into the little glass slipper. And there could be a lot of references to Cinderella here, but we won't go. That's another talk, an entire another talk. Maybe it's time to reevaluate the path. And again, metaphorically, is it time for a new shoe? Is it time for a new size? Is it time for a new journey? This can be the hardest space sometimes. Maybe we need to change people, relationships, where we live, where we are, what we do. There's 1,000 things that come up on these journeys that can be like, oh, this is really hard. They always talk about, if you have a pebble in your shoe, you cannot think about anything else. And that is the truth. If you're trying to walk that journey and something's always poking up into your foot, you are not going to be able to pay attention to the journey. You're only going to pay attention to the pebble. So what surrounds you? What's talking to you? What's bringing you information? Where do you actually want to be? Journal about it. Think about it. The obscure dream, follow it. Where is this going to go? You never know. And stop trying hard to fit into the wrong shoe. It's never going to work. Terrible thing about the Disney stuff is a lot of times they're based on Grimm's fairy tales, which are just awful. Don't ever read the real thing and don't ever read it to a child. But one of the stepsisters actually cuts off the end of her foot to fit into the shoe. Like, can you imagine telling that to a child? Ridiculous. But in the Disney version, it's of course much more sanitized. But the idea is we'll do anything to fit into that shoe sometime because it seems like the right thing to do. But usually if it doesn't fit, there's a reason it doesn't, and we should not go there. Remember, no matter how slow, how small, how wobbly, forward is forward. So the teeniest, tiniest little toes in a baby doll shoe still move forward a little bit, right? So every step counts. Don't forget that. Wherever you're moving to is always moving forward. Even if you fill your stock, the baby step will take you forward. And just to close up, Mark sent me this little graphic yesterday. I thought it was a nice way to close our time together. Is always take the next step. And this is true, right? How many times do we get through something thinking, oh, never gonna happen. I can't seem to get there. I don't know how this is gonna end. And Mike Dooley again says, most of the time you don't know how close you are to the dream coming true until after it's happened, right? Which means you only know the way we know how to close it in an hour, you have to keep going. The next step must be taken, and it's important. Spiritual people don't float around all day on clouds of glory. They live in the real world and deal with the real issues in the real way. Perfect way to say, unity walks the walk and talks the talk. And if you are immersed in it, you will catch yourself and say, like scrap that, redo. I can say something different. I can journey differently. I can wear new shoes. I can put something else on if I want to. So let's take a little time for meditation. You just want to settle in, close your eyes, be comfortable. Turn inward. Know that you are protected. You're guided. The inner voice is always there for you, and the journey you are on is perfect. Always perfect. What about a nice deep breath? Breathing in love. And exhaling peace. Another time, breathe in love. And exhale peace. Imagine if you can, you're in your very own shoe store. There's every variety of shoe. Slip-ons, sandals, dressy shoes, boots, slippers, maybe work boots. Every shoe style you can imagine is there for you to choose. Every shoe you choose in this perfect shoe store for you will fit you perfectly. But you indeed get to choose the shoe you wear on your journey. And throughout life, they can be many, and that is okay. Your journey, once you choose the shoe, may begin on an unknown path. It may look daunting, dark in the woods, roots to trip over, and it may be a bit overwhelming, and that's okay. The spiritual journey is literally one step at a time. When we create dreams that create thoughts of our journey, we do not immediately jump to the end. There are many steps, sometimes lessons along the way. And choosing the right shoe keeps us putting one foot in front of the other with the comfort of knowing we are always guided in the right direction. When a pebble shows up in our shoe or the shoe creates a blister, perhaps we think of our language and be sure we're in true harmony of what the universe can deliver to us. Perhaps we must move off the larger, easy path to one that is more challenging, but is in the better direction of our dreams. Perhaps we must change our shoes occasionally simply to deal with the terrain of our dreams and how life can cause shift and change. Remember, every step is precious. Every step is an accomplishment, regardless of how small the step taken was. Each step should be celebrated, and with each step we must turn and look behind us, acknowledge how far we have come, and be eternally grateful. Now take a moment and take off your journey shoes. Rub your tired little feet, and know that this journey is a journey of life, and only you get to decide where the journey goes. Make sure you enjoy the adventure. Let's come back to the here and now, knowing that every day we can choose new shoes, but sometimes the shoe is already fitting, and keep it on and stay on the journey. Let's take one last cleansing breath. Breathe in love, exhale peace. Open your eyes and know that you're on the right